Hi, I'm John Murphy.
And I'm Amber Clevenger, and this is season 2 of Digital Dilemmas. So, we've got some exciting new things planned for this season. We've got some new looks, and we've got some great guests that we're super excited to chat with, circling around, emerging technology, how it affects everybody. In their day-to-day life, whether it's from a business or a personal or a parental point of view. We're going to take a look at all of it coming up this season. Hello, and welcome to this edition of Digital Dilemmas. Our guest this week is Nick Lensander, an entrepreneur out in California, who is also our producer. He produces our podcast, among many other things, but that's obviously at the top of his resume, I imagine. Nick has been on the show before. He's a friend of the podcast, and we had such a great conversation with him that we wanted to ask him back and continue it.
Digital Dilemmas is a Link Media original podcast. Welcome back, Nick. I know that last time we focused on the sports piece of technology, and we went almost an hour talking about that. We wanted to have you back to talk about uh, what it's like being an entrepreneur in the 2020s, and pick your brain about your experiences both from the human side of being an entrepreneur and the digital side, all the new tech and issues that entrepreneurs like you are have an opportunity to do some pretty cool stuff with. So we want to chat about both those things today.
Why
Looking
don't you
forward
tell
to
us
it.
a little? Why don't you tell us a little bit about your business, like what you do?
Yeah, so I guess as an entrepreneur, by, I was born into being an entrepreneur. Both my parents were entrepreneurs, and I guess by nature of an entrepreneur, you do all kinds of different things, right? You you learn all different aspects of business, trade, anything that specific that you're doing. In my case, it's a lot of digital stuff. For context, I studied digital media at UConn. So, and even way before that, I did digital stuff and early age computing, social media stuff back
Well,
when
you're of an age that I believe we refer to as digital natives.
digital native.
Unlike
Yeah, the start of it, the start of being a digital native, for sure. I mean, in the last 10 years or so, it's crazy, kind of where things have gone and how quickly things have moved. And, you always have to uh, be on high alerts and see what's changing almost daily,
I
especially,
don't
with
know. I
AI.
mean, I don't know if everybody feels like this, but not everybody, you guys, but everybody in the history of the world. But I feel like this is such an incredible time to be alive. Like, I feel like, that it must have been like this being alive during the Renaissance or the Industrial Revolution or, some other era where everything was changing, in in those times, what was fast for those times, and now what's fast for these times is like you say, daily.
Absolutely. I mean, it probably is. And I mean, there is no better time to be alive, regardless of, whether it seems that issues are kind of bigger and, louder and, there's a lot that you hear on a daily basis. But again, the opportunity is also there for everything at a scale that's bigger than ever before. It's a somewhat level playing field, and you can really, if you put your mind to it and you work hard, you can really do amazing things, as we've seen in the last 5, 10, 15 years of some of these social companies that have developed, AI companies, media companies. How the influencer game has changed everything. So being an entrepreneur is so, at least now, multifaceted. You really need to know at least some about everything,
I didn't
to
mean
be
to
able
cut you
to.
off too.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
saw that I mean, I heard that you were saying your parents were entrepreneurs, which is so interesting to me because I imagine that sort of you grew up with the idea that this was possible.
that's a good point. Yeah, and I guess I also grew up with the idea that this was something you should do and you should go after and do. You can do anything you put your mind to. I guess so. I've always been crazy ambitious, and so that's kind of just been ingrained in me. And it's been normal, I guess, to work, a lot more than I guess normal people, non-entrepreneurs, people that just work 9 to 5s, and having a bigger vision and a plan and being creative. And so all those different pieces, tie into the entrepreneur, game, and just having a vision for what you want to do. And obviously it develops over time, but I guess when you're younger and you're growing up through it, you kind of just hop from thing to thing. I guess you start with lemonade stands, candy, to now you can do digital business stuff a lot younger, even when I was that age. But then you kind of hop from thing to thing until you can kind of build out your vision and really figure out how you get there. Because everyone wants to be successful, quote unquote, but it's really building something that you want to build and that you're passionate about and that you think can change people's lives in the world for the better. And that is when if you put the pieces together, something really special can happen for sure. And I'm not there yet too, so I'm not talking about that specifically, but you just got to stick with your process, and if you love it, you're going to put in the work. So
Nick, I know that California is known as an entrepreneurial culture compared to most states. And as Amber was saying, both your parents were entrepreneurs. So between the area you grew up in and your parents' influence, I imagine that it gave you permission, to go down that road where I think a lot of young people getting out of college are a little bit nervous about it, or even if they're interested in it, they have no idea what it really entails. So I'm guessing you had a little bit, you may not have appreciated it at the time, but you probably had a little bit of a leg up of what it's going to be like. And yeah, it's something I really want to do.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. Obviously, I spent a lot of time in my parents' offices and, helping with the business. I guess just as a part of it, if you have kids and you're running a business or doing whatever, I guess very oftentimes they, bring you into it to learn things, whether it's tricks of the trade or helping with certain tasks or just seeing how things work in general, as a business, even, regardless of what type of business it is, right? It's just kind of seeing how pieces go together, and it's something that people definitely, self-awareness is huge in being an entrepreneur, because it's with the social media age and glamour, it's being an entrepreneur has kind of been glamorized, I guess, because of certain successes that come along with it, and in certain cases, but it's extremely non-glamorous most of the time. And so it's something that you don't want to be an Instagram entrepreneur, just to put it in your bio and that kind of stuff. It's you won't last long. You really gotta fight through adversity, and you gotta put out fires, and you gotta it's I mean, it's just a constant battle of doing that stuff, and then you hopefully set yourself up so you do have some good moments and some success that comes with it. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting how that works.
Do you have a question, John, or do you? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a question regarding, I think a lot of people want to know when they start a business, did you get any funding at first, or did you try to grow it organically without any funding? What road did you take?
Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting. So I mean, so I have a media company. Obviously, we do all these podcast stuff, and so just kind of trying to grow that, and agency stuff, kind of the stuff that I went to school for. uh, somewhat of a, new age media company. That's kind of been all bootstrapped, basically since college, before college, after college. You just find projects and things to tackle and, work on, and then you kind of just build from there. I'm always a big believer in bootstrapping if you can. So it's basically, what that means is building yourself up, and not taking outside funding. Um, you know, Outside funding is more difficult to get sometimes too, depending on your situation, depending what you're trying to do. So yeah, no, I've bootstrapped my media company. I think it's a little bit easier to do as well if you're a solopreneur. You start out as a solopreneur, doing it yourself, and just trying to keep things as lean as possible, and then you know start with one project, and kind of just get another one and another
I
one,
had
and
never heard that phrase before, but I love it. Solopreneur.
yeah,
I think I probably spent a good chunk of my 40-year career being a solopreneur, and I never called myself that, but I love it.
yeah,
Um,
Um,
yeah.
I have a question because I know your business is young. You're young, but so you have sort of a young business. But has the emerging technology changed um, since you started? Like have there been sort of advances in technology that have changed the way you do business since you started your business?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm happy to touch on the startup piece of it too, because I have another business that's a startup, which is, startups are a little more complicated, especially if you're in the tech space. But yeah, I mean, like we said earlier, stuff's changing all the time, right? So, especially in the social digital world, media world, we've had a lot of new technologies with, as machine learning has developed into AI, and AI has developed into usable tools that we can use on a daily basis. So I think a lot of it does get hidden in certain other tools that we use. AI gets implemented everywhere. We use it for content creation too. It removes a lot of extra time that you had to spend doing potentially mundane tasks for hours and hours on end. So it helps with that. But the thing is, as a human, we always have kind of that. We know what we're looking for. We know the feel. We know how software works. We know how to get our best, the look that we're trying to get for the project that we're trying to get. So, it's not perfect at all, and it's going to take a long time to get even further along. But absolutely, there are tons of great tools that in the business space, the content space, digital, and on the startup, tech side of things, that have made life easier, and just allows you to focus your time on
On the
other
bigger
things.
picture or strategy or the
Exactly.
creative, the human part, the part that the machines can't do.
Exactly. Executing. Yeah.
How do you, and this is going to sound like an idiotic question, I'm sure, but how do you stay abreast of all of the new platforms and technologies and capabilities that are coming out? I mean, that must take up like just on a daily basis, it must take up a sort of a significant amount of your time. And do you try out the free versions of platforms and then, see which ones work best for you or?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I do. It does take time. You've always just got to have an open mind on everything, honestly. Whether it's things, platforms that have changed from a long time ago that you used previously. You've just got to be open and you know really looking for the best solution to whatever the problem you're trying to solve is. And so you really can't close any doors to that. And whether it's a way you've done it forever, or it's always learning, right? So yeah, I mean, I think that these platforms have been so key. And how do you find it all? How do you look at it all. You have to really just get into the nitty gritty. You've got to get into the platforms. You've got to try a lot of things yourselves. You got to spend a lot of time troubleshooting and just practicing things. I've always been really good at troubleshooting stuff. Back to when I did AV stuff, audio, video. There's just a lot of different things with computers and things digital wise that if you get really good at troubleshooting and finding problems and finding solution to problems, and now with the internet along with that, makes it things quicker, so you can troubleshoot faster, find things that work where you need it to. So it's definitely a combination of a lot of things, but you have to just be open and willing to dive into the platforms head first, whether you know anything or not, and be willing to learn a lot constantly. Even though you think you may know most things, always just gonna be willing to learn and go in with an open mind, and really try to find whether it's a good fit for whatever you're trying to do.
Nick, you brought something up. I want to talk about. Think about how fast things have changed. When we started this podcast roughly 20 episodes ago, the big talk at the time, this was just last winter, was around AI, ethics, is it going to destroy the world, etc. And in a matter of 9 months, to me, it seems, are we still having conversations similar to that on this? Yes, and smart people are talking about it. You can edit that out. I'm having problems with it.
I will.
No, well, I can
hang in there.
Sorry.
So edit that out, but I'll start. But but Nick, now it's at a point where whether it's a peer of mine or in the classroom or a young entrepreneur like yourself, it's now just another tool. And you got to, just what you said, you got to dive in and start using it, because if it helps you run your business and deliver things quicker, more efficiently, or save you money, you're going to be using it. We're not sitting here wondering anymore about the destruction of the world as much.
Or, I mean, I
Right.
think people are worried about the destruction of the world, and I think people are worried about Big Brother, and I think there is a lot of fear and trepidation, and I think people have a lot of people have reservations about it. But I think, to your point, John, it's become more accepted. It's more like
That's what I mean.
back
Yep.
when Googling something was seen as cheating, or and now it's seen as a smart place to start. And
Yeah, absolutely.
And Nick,
I mean, yeah.
you must be using, like you said, you're using tools that AI is either built into the tool or is the tool, and you take a look at it. If it saves you time, if it delivers a good result for you,
Yep.
you're going to
I
use
would
it.
like to say, I don't think AI needs to be in everything. Like I spend a fair amount of time on Facebook, and you go to make a comment or
It'll
anything,
tell you
any
the summary.
interaction, and they're forcing it. They're like,
So
here's how AI can enhance your question
yeah.
asking or comment making, and I'm like, no, it can't.
Yeah, I'll start with that. I mean, it's basically because there's an arms race right now for developing the, per se, Google of AI, right? The place you go for search. And now it's just everyone's trying to get in the game. Everyone's trying to become a leader. So they're putting it in everything, and they're trying a lot of things, which is not per se bad. It's just going to look different for sure in 5 or 10 years. Absolutely. This is kind of the Wild West of it. It's flying around everywhere, and everyone's trying to use it. Everyone's trying to get involved, and the real innovators and major players will come out of it, and then it'll kind of, I think, settle into the main silos that it's was created the best for how people use it.
I think
Sort
you're
of,
right. I
it
love that
remind,
point.
oh, go on.
Sorry, Amber. I love the point when we started using Google. It wasn't just Google. There were several browser search engines. And to Nick's point, there was an arms race and Google won. And it's the
Exactly.
same with this.
But then, okay, so I have another example where it kind of went the opposite way. Remember when DVRing stuff was first a thing and TiVo was like, kind of owned it? Now, look at all the streaming, the technology has changed so much that not only is TiVo not a thing anymore, but like DVR, that's not even really a thing anymore.
Well, yeah,
And you have so many platforms and so many options when it comes to viewing television content, or I don't even, yeah, television content, I guess you would call it.
yeah, 100%. I mean, they clearly didn't, innovate quick enough. They, were in the space of physical hard drives, right, with DVRs and boxes and things like that. And as things moved to the cloud, and companies shifted what they fundamentally did, they kind of kept their same model seemingly and just whittled down as the rest of the players went cloud heavy, and Netflix invested a ton in content. Another example of Blockbuster.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I
DVDs
was thinking the same thing. Yeah,
DVDs
Blockbuster.
are physical. It's the early stage of physical hard drive, similar to DVR. It's just content on disk, and obviously they didn't innovate. They didn't think they needed to, and look where that got them. Out of business. So
Where do you
yeah,
see, because right now there are all these streaming platforms. There's Apple, there's Paramount, there's HBO or Max, I guess it's called now, and Hulu, and I'm YouTube TV. I'm forgetting several of them,
There's
but
a million of them,
there's a
right?
a
million
million.
of them. And it's hard. People I talk to, and you see online people joking. They're like, I can't even remember. I have a show I watch. I can't even remember what platform it goes with. I have to go searching, through Netflix and
100%.
Amazon and whatever to find out where the show even is, because I can't remember because there are so many. Do you see that event? I'd love to know where you see that going. Is that going to stay as broad as it is now? Do you think it's going to narrow down?
No, it's interesting because if we kind of look how television developed into these uh, packages, basically what streaming is doing is just removing the middleman, right? It's removing the cable companies, the distributors, and customers are going direct to the source on all these things. Now, I think in the beginning everyone was like, "Oh, it's cheaper, right? It's quicker, it's cheaper. Like I'm spending half the money, and I get everything, and it's faster, so it's a no-brainer." Well, now over time, as prices have gone up, and there's been everybody trying to create their own platform. Pretty much every major, network or company either
Every
has their
media
own
outlet,
platform,
yeah.
exactly, either has their own platform or has combined with another one to have a platform.
Right.
So, as that has happened and everything's gotten more expensive, it's like, okay, wait a second. Now everything's kind of just in a less organized bundle of what cable was doing.
Right.
And
So now people are saying, I'm
and
saying to themselves, I'm spending the same amount of money. I'm just spending it on
and
40
it's and
different.
it's a exactly it's around the same cost, but now it's just a lot less organized and not in the to thing that's put together. So it's interesting. It kind of shows that maybe the cable thing was an interesting idea. It clearly worked for a long time, but having a middleman to bring all the content together and then provide it
Right.
to you in one package, um, versus now you're going straight to everybody. Now there's a lot more flexibility there. Again, it's a lot quicker. You don't need to get stuck to the middleman. You can really go to directly what specific content you want, especially now with YouTube being a major player, obviously, in internet content and video in general. Yeah, so it's interesting. I mean, you there's not really a way to guess how it's going to pan out, but I think some of these major players will either get acquired by each other or
Right.
combine. Netflix, Prime, for an example, Prime buying or Amazon buying, I think it was a Warner Brothers or
Right.
some big studios to combine both their historical platforms, titles, all that stuff,
Right. Like
along with
CBS
new
and
content.
Paramount, I think.
Exactly,
Yeah, they're
exactly right.
combined.
CBS and
Yep.
Paramount. So I think as the years go, next year and the year after, we'll see that
See
continue to happen.
some consolidation.
Exactly, because people like and kind of are on certain platforms more than others. So when I mean, I'm guessing when execs from certain networks see that their platform really isn't hitting like they need it to or want it to, I think they have to be open to conversations, and that's what we've seen with some of the mergers and these. Obviously, Disney and ESPN and Hulu is another kind of package, right? They
Right.
all are together as well. So, my guess is at some point we'll see it'll whittle down to a kind of a handful of packages instead of 12 or 15.
Right.
So they'll kind of naturally package themselves together to be more, engaging and more,
Well, more
user friendly to the
consumable.
user
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
consumable. Exactly right. So
Nick, I wanted to switch gears a little bit and talk about your gym
yes,
link idea. And when I think about it, and I want you to share your story, is we're on this podcast regularly talking about emerging tech and just right now talking about media. But there are some industries, unlike the Uberization of the world, some industries really are still in the 1980s. And one of them you're addressing, and I would really love to hear your thoughts on the fitness industry. Now think, I'm going to take a step back. The fitness industry is huge. I know it's dispersed. I know everybody's got a different approach, but it's a huge industry. And yet it does behave a little bit like the 1980s. I'd love to hear why you came up with your idea, share your idea, and how you may see it evolving and maybe joining the 21st century at some point.
yeah. Thanks for the question. Yeah, it's really interesting to see. So I mean, like I'll pull it back kind of from a macro perspective on this real quick. So even not from gyms, there's a lot of sectors that are in the 1980s and 1990s, and not just gyms, which I'll touch on in a minute. But my kind of thing is, why aren't businesses and physical locations and things that are important people use all the time in their communities and daily worlds, why aren't they connected more than just having a Facebook page, right? Or why can't these businesses and things be connected? We connect everything else. We connect humans. We have digital content, everything,
We
streaming.
can get food, we can get a ride, we can
Exactly,
we can do all kinds of things from home so easily.
Well,
exactly
and
right.
we just had Sophia on talking about fitness data. There have been such advances in that area that do sort of push it into the digital realm.
So much advances. That's exactly right. And I think that the problem that you have to solve a problem of people doing things the same way for a long period of time, and changing that. So it's not easy. It's when you start. It's when these revolutions started, right? With the internet changing how things did, then with Uber completely changing the taxi industry, Airbnb changing the
There's another
the
one, right?
home industry. So these things and ideas seem so outlandish and just strange when they first were came out, right? I mean, would you trust your 13-year-old to get in a car with a random person?
I was
I
just
mean,
gonna
like,
say there's got to be some breakthrough in the
There's
I,
moment. Like,
I mean,
who?
just
There's a
think back
running joke
15
on the
years
internet.
ago.
Don't trust anybody on the internet, and don't get in a stranger's car.
Exactly. And now we trust everyone on the internet and get in strangers'
And we
cars.
get in a stranger's car.
So it's ironic, I guess, because some of the best ideas sound so crazy at first, right? So like that idea, if you heard that 20 years ago, you'd be like, that's never going to work. I mean, so there's just a lot of so many pieces in between hearing the crazy idea and actually executing it, because the execution part of it is everything. I mean, um, there's so many companies that you haven't heard about because they didn't execute it right, or they were successful for a while then fell off. It's something where the execution matters so much. And so with that idea, we're the company, the startup that I'm building is called GymLenk. And so we're working on connecting gyms that weren't otherwise connected in different locations. We're going to tackle the outdated nature of day passes and trying to find gyms that are good. A lot of different pieces of your experience when you go to gyms that you aren't already going to, whether it's you're traveling, you're gone for the weekend, whatever. We're tackling kind of all those different friction points and feeling comfortable in new places too. Everyone potentially travels more than they ever have in different ways, obviously since COVID and hybrid working, and people stay in different places for longer periods and potentially travel more. Feeling
this
comfortable
is so
anywhere you
interesting.
are.
I
Yeah.
It
love
really
this.
is
This
just.
is so interesting. I am not a gym person. One of my favorite things about myself is that I don't go to the gym. But
She takes great pride in that, Nick.
well, I don't know pride, but I do enjoy not going to the gym. However, I know people who go to the gym religiously, and I have worked with people who go to the gym who travel a lot for work, and when they do, they are sort of stuck with whatever facilities the hotel that they're staying in might have, and it's never quite right, or they're looking to base their hotel choice on what the gym offerings are, and the idea that they could maybe be in a different physical location but have there be some continuity with their home gym seems really
Exactly.
appealing.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. And I think that is gonna come out to be true. There's a lot of different pieces of it that are just difficult too. With small to medium sized businesses, which gyms and small gyms and regional gyms are, there's their websites are wonky, their hours aren't updated. You don't really know what you're getting into, where you're going to. Is it like my home gym? There's a lot of different questions that are vital to you, making you feel the most comfortable and being your most efficient, being at the gym, going to gym that you like to go to, or that you feel comfortable in. So
Like,
all of the above. Yeah.
wouldn't it be cool, John, if 'cause John goes to a gym here, Big Sky, if you feel like sponsoring us, reach out, Big Sky.
Big Sky.
I go there and swim. I do go to the gym to swim. I shouldn't say I don't go to the gym, but um and he's really happy with the experience, but like we talk about spending uh several weeks of the year out in California or sort of in other places potentially. And wouldn't it be great, John, like if you could walk into a place that had all your data and that knew what your
Exactly.
workout was and that where you knew you were going to get some kind of similar
E-
experience? Is
Exactly.
that
And Nick, before you answer, all
well, no,
right.
I was asking you.
No, so I'll answer it. So one of the things I want to talk about is, yes, that would be great. And it's also because we're not going to hotels. So a lot of people now, as Nick
Right.
was mentioning, after COVID, we may spend several months a year in California or Hawaii or wherever. and it's not a hotel. So we're living in that town. Do we really need a full-blown gym membership if we're going to be in Thousand Oaks for 2 weeks, and then come
Exactly.
back 4 months later for another 2 weeks? No, but we would love, I would love to be able to just feel at home at an Airbnb or a relative's house in California or Hawaii or wherever and say, oh, it's Tuesday morning. I really want to go for a swim or I want to work out. And I know that this gym, because of Nick's app, I know that they have the trainers and the facility that I admire. It's only 5 miles from where we're staying. That's where I'm going to go. And when I swipe in, everybody's on the same page, and it just makes it seamless. That would be huge for so many of us who love to work out when we're on the road. And and, and being in California and Hawaii doesn't feel like being on the road. It feels like just another place we live.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different pieces that that are
Right.
important. Yeah, where people are staying has changed, obviously, and like I said, feeling comfortable at a new place. There's a lot of things about the normal gym experience at a home gym, whatever gym you go to, that is, you have to. Some are month to month, but there's a lot of them that have yearly contracts.
Right.
There's a lot of kind of old ways of thinking in the way gyms do things. And
There's that whole Friends
they're
episode about getting out of your gym contract and how
Yeah,
impossible it
that's the
is.
1990s, Nick. That's what we're referring
so,
Yes.
to. There it is.
that's literally it. And the funny part is, I would say probably at least half the gyms still do that. So like, what are we doing? Number one, what
Right,
are we doing?
what are we doing here? And they charge
uh,
$10 a month because they're never going to let you out of it. They'd rather do that.
Exactly. There's different fees, there's just so many different things that are so, outdated about it. And, needing to feel comfortable. And then, there's a refreshing feeling about walking in somewhere that you've never been before, but all the facility are, it's very transparent. Just like you walking into an Airbnb, right? You feel comfortable because you have all high def imagery of the house, where it is,
Yep.
instructions,
Yep.
everything. You've got all that guessing game removed. You've got all the knowledge about where it is, where you need to go, and you walk in. Every gym has a different waiver you got to sign. They're going to try to sell you on joining
Oh,
their gym. So,
right.
I mean, there's a lot of different pieces to it that just causes a lot of friction. And at that point, it's just like, well, if I have to spend an hour to try to search for one and then deal with all this stuff, half my time that I wanted to spend working out is gone, and it's not even worth it. So,
That's
um,
exactly what happens. And then when you're on the road, as Amber was saying, when you're on the road, now you feel like you're on the road in the 1980s and you can't wait to get
exactly,
home. And you'd rather,
exactly,
if you're going to be somewhere for
And
a
you
couple
or you
weeks.
end up not working out for 2 weeks, and then
exactly, and
nobody
that's what
that
people do too. That's what people
yeah,
do too.
Right.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah,
suspect, Nick, as you share all the friction
the
points,
pain
that
points, yeah.
it's yeah, at some place or some point in time, someone like you and your group are gonna find the gyms that are willing to take the leap into the 21st century, and those gyms will be the winners. Um,
absolutely
that
right, absolutely
that's what
right.
I think.
Yeah, and I mean that's what we believe, obviously, and I believe, and one of the reasons we started this years ago. Funny enough, we actually started this working on this before COVID, and when all the gyms and everything shut down during COVID, we kind of just took a step back and we're like, let's just watch and see. We're
It's
working on
so
it, watch
interesting.
and see how things changed. Um, the way people travel changed, business
Right.
changed, the way people work changed, and to be honest, it actually helped this whole idea, and it made it stronger because people go different places
Yeah.
and like you said, go to Airbnbs and want to feel at home in a town, in a place for a week, 2 weeks, whatever. Um, but if you can remove all the bad parts about finding a gym and figuring it out and all XYZ that we just talked about, then and you can just pay your home gym a little bit more per month. And you you make it back by going one time to another gym, and then yeah. So I mean,
100%.
there's a
Yeah.
I
lot
love
of great
this.
things
I
that can
love
come
this
out of it.
idea.
No, I really think it's fantastic because the things you mentioned, whether it's booking a trip or taking an Uber to your Airbnb you booked online, all these points, these touch points, we're able to feel comfortable before we leave our house because of technology. Now, the
Right.
other piece, and even grocery shopping, you can, like, when you get to your destination, you can go online and order your groceries and have it delivered to you. So now you have your food all through technology. And like I said at the top of this, the fitness industry is huge. I
Massive.
know that Amber doesn't like to go to the gym, but she does swim. I'm willing to bet pretty much one person in every household likes to do something active. I don't care what it is,
At
yoga,
at least,
swim,
yeah.
right? And when they get to the new town that they're going to spend some time in, they would like to continue their regular routines as much as possible. And this is the last pain point in the journey where, okay, now I still feel like I'm in 1985.
Exactly. And it's interesting because, again, bringing together small business owners, medium-sized business owners that have never done this before, that are they have to have kind of a forward-thinking vision. And
Right.
we've been working with some, and obviously I live in California, so that's kind of where we're starting out in terms of a beta launch and all that. But eventually, obviously, the goal is to get it everywhere. So literally anywhere you go, there's a connection, and we can bring a lot of perks with that as well. So obviously, there's a lot of more nuances to how this
Right.
works and such.
Right.
We're talking about it at a
So
high level just
cool.
for those listening. But if we can really build value of the membership, the more gyms join, that'll just increase the value and of your own membership, because you can go more places, do more
Right.
things. We can build in perks, I think, a la Amazon Prime, right?
Yeah.
Building a lot of things into it that just provides a lot of value for you, and for gyms, and whatever else we may want to build in it that makes sense for people. But yeah, no, we definitely believe in it, and it's something where we're going after, and
Nick, does
hopefully.
when you go, I know we talked about quote unquote gyms. Are you also looking at bringing on board yoga studios, Pilates studios, swimming centers, anything that all of us are into different things, but
Right.
or pickleball centers. Everywhere I go now, there's a pickleball center opening up. Um,
Yes.
and when if Jane and Mary in Connecticut are going to California for 3 weeks to visit friends, and their friends don't play pickleball, but they'd love to play a couple times while they're out there, and they're all around
Jane and
old.
Mary. Could you have picked two more old fashioned? Are they 100?
That's great. That's great.
They're,
No,
Ethel and
no,
Frida.
but he's,
they're,
I
they're
mean,
all born
he's
in
absolutely
1959,
exactly.
and
Uh,
they all learned to read with Dick and Jane. Come on, get with the program.
exactly.
This is
No,
a
Sorry.
tech emerging tech
but
conversation.
you're absolutely right. And so I mean, to give a preview of the next step of that is, yeah, absolutely, we can bring it. Once we could perfect it in the gym space, we can bring it to every other market of small to medium sized stuff that are community based, that can be connected. Just think, hair salons. You only go to, so let people go to one person and they don't trust anybody else. Like you said,
Right.
pickleball, golf
A
course. I
hundred.
mean, there's a billion different things that just in the small to medium sized business case, that whether it's trust, location, there's a lot of different pieces to it, and it's slightly
Yeah.
different in each market. But gyms are the first thing that we're tackling, and then from there, if as it makes sense to go to different areas, that's the macro thesis is connecting these things, businesses, activities, places, like they've never been connected before.
I love
I
this. I
love
love
it.
this. I
Technology
really
is a
do.
force for good. All right, we have taken up more of your time than we should have. But we always do when you're on the show. Thank you so much for coming back and for sharing all of your knowledge and your ideas. It was really, really eye-opening, really cool.
Yeah. And Nick, next time we have you on the show this winter, you can tell us what emerging or new tech you're using that's saving you guys some time.
Okay,
Absolutely. Yeah.
we look forward to it. The time-saving episode, we'll call that one. Um, Okay, thank you for joining us for this week. And as always, if you have any questions or suggestions for topics or guests or anything like that, please feel free to send them to digitaldilemmas@lenk.media, and we will address it in upcoming episodes. Thank you so much.
Looking forward to adding on to what we did in season 1, talking about emerging tech and how it affects all of us, moms, dads, businessmen, entrepreneurs, politicians, whatever the topic du jour is, we'll be talking about this year. We've got a new look, some exciting new guests, and we're looking forward to bringing you along with us as we explore these topics in season 2. Digital Dilemmas is a Link Media original podcast.